Welcome back to CIA Declassified. In the high-stakes theater of 1950s espionage, the agency transformed the subterranean geography of Europe into a secret network of tactical portals designed to make high-value targets vanish in an instant. In the 1950s and 60s, the streets of a divided Berlin, Vienna, and Belgrade weren't just transit points. They were battlefields of visibility. If a high-level defector or a compromised agent stayed in the open for a second too long, they were as good as dead. The agency needed a way to make people vanish in plain sight. They needed a system that turned the very architecture of a city into a weapon of evasion. This was the era of the shadow walker, where the difference between freedom and a Soviet interrogation cell was a hidden basement door or a falsified sewer map. Today, we enter the tunnels. We are examining the designation for the physical and tactical infrastructure of escape. This was the rat hole. How did this project get its name? The term rat hole was derived from the agency's early observations of the Tito-Stalin split in Yugoslavia. In 1948, the CIA officially considered Yugoslavia a rat hole to be watched. That's a quote. The name evolved from a derogatory bureaucratic descriptor for a lost cause region into a literal operational term. It referred to the narrow, dark, and often subterranean holes or passages that agents used to scurry out of sight when the cats, the Soviet internal security forces, were closing in. It was a literalist nod to the vermin-like resilience required to survive behind the Iron Curtain. The rat hole was more than a basement. It was a philosophy of survival. The rat hole system was managed by the Office of Technical Services, which specialized in creating physical modifications to buildings, false walls, dead drops, and hidden exits. A quote from a declassified 1952 field manual: "An effective escape route must be invisible to the casual observer and untenable for the pursuer. The objective is not speed, but the total severance of the visual trail." End quote. Records show that the agency utilized dead rat disguises where hollowed out freeze-dried rat carcasses were used as containers for microfilmed maps of rat hole routes. Documentation confirms the use of safe house fronts such as bakeries or repair shops where the rat hole was hidden behind industrial ovens or tool racks. The agency collaborated with local municipal engineers in West Berlin to identify blind spots in the city's sewer and utility tunnels that could be converted into permanent rat holes. Quote from the Church Committee testimony: "The agency maintained a network of clandestine properties across Europe, the locations of which were known only to a handful of case officers and their local contractors." End quote. Operational logs detail the use of inertial navigation markers where specific cracks in masonry or rhythmic pipe knocking were used to guide agents through pitch black rat hole tunnels. Reports indicate that the agency developed acoustic dampening paint to line the interior of rat hole safe rooms, preventing external microphones from picking up voices inside. Agency blueprints from the 1960s show the installation of one-way hydraulic hinges on brick veneer doors that could only be opened from the inside of the tunnel. The CIA utilized a dry cleaning protocol where an asset would spend up to 48 hours inside a mid-route rat hole just to ensure they weren't being tailed before moving to the next extraction point. In 1954, a rat hole in Vienna was discovered by the Soviet MVD only because a local plumber accidentally breached a false wall while repairing a burst pipe. A quote from a 1958 station chief memo: "We are effectively building a second city beneath the first, a metropolis of the unwanted and the unseen." End quote. Technical logs confirm that the agency experimented with odor neutralizing chemicals to prevent tracking dogs from following the scent of defectors into the rat hole network. Operational records show that the Trieste Gap was one of the most active rat hole corridors, Trieste, moving over 200 assets between 1949 and 1953. The agency disguised rat hole entrances as electrical transformers, complete with high voltage warning signs to deter curious civilians. Logs indicate that some rat holes were equipped with suicide switches that would flood the room with carbon monoxide if the outer door was breached by unauthorized personnel. The CIA employed urban cavers to map the ancient catacombs under European cities specifically to find connection points for new rat hole routes. Documentation confirms that the rat hole budget was often hidden under municipal improvements and the agency's financial ledgers. In Berlin, the agency used a rat hole that ran through a functioning morgue, using empty coffins to transport high-value assets past checkpoints. Records show that double-blind keys were used where the asset had one half and the safe housekeeper had the other. Neither could enter the rat hole alone. The agency developed fringe frequency beacons that would vibrate an agent's tooth filling when they were within 10 feet of a hidden rat hole entrance. Reports detail a rat hole in Istanbul that was accessed through a false bottom in a spice merchant's stall in the Grand Bazaar. The CIA utilized ghost subways, abandoned or unfinished rail spurs, as high-speed rat hole transit lines for large groups of defectors. Operational files indicate that the laundry chute was a nickname for a specific rat hole in a Prague hotel that dropped agents directly into a waiting sewer barge. A quote from a declassified 1961 analysis: "Physical security is an illusion. The only true security is the absence of a traceable presence." End quote. Logs confirm that the agency used ultraviolet reactive paint to mark rat hole paths that were only visible to agents wearing special filtered lenses. In 1962, a high-ranking KGB officer was exfiltrated through a rat hole that required him to crawl through 400 yards of active steam pipes. Agency technicians created hollow books containing miniature oxygen tanks for assets needing to survive long durations in cramped, unventilated rat hole compartments. The agency purchased entire residential apartment blocks in Salzburg specifically to build interconnected rat hole basement networks. Documentation shows that rat lines was the informal term, but rat hole remained the technical designation for the physical architecture itself. Logs describe hydraulic lift floorboards in a safe house in Paris that allowed a car to be lowered into a rat hole tunnel for rapid street-level disappearance. Records confirm the use of silent alarm vibrators installed in the soles of agents' shoes to signal when they had correctly located a rat hole exit. The CIA commissioned custom brick pattern wallpaper that was indistinguishable from masonry to hide rat hole hatches in industrial hallways. Reports indicate that air purification cartridges were standard issue for assets hiding in stagnant rat hole environments for more than 6 hours. In 1959, the agency actually used a rat hole hidden inside a Greek Orthodox church bell tower to hide an asset during a citywide manhunt. Technical memos show that the CIA tested expanding foam barriers to permanently seal a rat hole behind an asset during a pursuit. The most sensitive files regarding the rat hole system remain under heavy ink, specifically the operational appendix exfiltration finality, which contains the highest volume of redactions in the entire series of classified escape files. In these documents, entire paragraphs describing the, quote, disposal of compromised nodes, end quote, are blacked out. Why the secrecy over a discarded safe house? There's a dark story told by old-timers in the basement of Langley that isn't in the official history books. They whisper that the redactions in the exfiltration finality files don't describe moving people out, but keeping them in. The theory goes that some rat holes were built with zero-fail protocols, meaning if a Soviet team was at the door, the tunnel wouldn't just be sealed, it would be collapsed or incinerated with everyone inside to prevent a leak. If you listen to the chatter from investigators of European shadow wars, they'll tell you the rat hole never died. They speculate that the heaviest redactions cover the fact that these tunnels are part of Operation Gladio, a stay-behind network of hidden bunkers. The conspiracy theory suggests these rat holes are still stocked with 1950s gold and weapons waiting for a war that hasn't happened yet. Was the rat hole policy a success? Tactically, it was an evasion triumph. It provided a 90% success rate for high-level defectors moved through the Vienna corridors. Strategically, it was a maintenance nightmare. The cost of keeping dozens of ghost properties across Europe was astronomical. The project was a success because it allowed for operational disappearance in environments where surveillance was absolute. It successfully turned the physical city into a tool of the agency. Beyond just numbers, it created a psychological edge, making the Soviet security apparatus feel that their own cities were riddled with holes they couldn't plug. It proved that a well-placed basement could be more valuable than a fleet of bombers. Even when discovered, the rat hole system forced the opposition to divert thousands of man-hours into fruitless searches of their own infrastructure. It successfully redefined safe passage as a function of engineering rather than just luck. By providing a concrete escape path, it gave potential defectors the confidence to leap, knowing there was a physical hole in the Iron Curtain waiting for them. The program successfully established the doctrine of passive infiltration, where the terrain itself does the work of the spy. It was a categorical success in establishing the vanishing point as a repeatable operational metric. Ultimately, it proved that you cannot catch what you cannot see. As far as technological and operational breakthroughs go, the rat hole program pioneered technologies we use today, such as subterranean mapping sonar, developed to find hidden cavities for rat holes. This tech is used today by civil engineers to detect sinkholes and structural weaknesses under city streets. Low-light passive imaging, the need to navigate pitch-black tunnels, led to early night vision, now standard in modern home security cameras. Micro-clandestine ventilation, techniques for hidden airflow in sealed rat hole rooms are now used in high-security data centers to keep servers cool without visible external vents. Modular false partitioning. The agency's pop-out walls and hidden doors led to the design of modern panic rooms and modular office privacy pods used in corporate environments. And acoustic isolation materials. The research into soundproofing secret rooms directly influenced the development of the noise-canceling technology used in modern recording studios and luxury apartments. The rat hole teaches us that every city has a second skin. It is the realization that the world we see is only half the story. The boots running through the tunnel never really stopped. They just became more quiet. We are living in a world built on the foundations of operational disappearance. The legacy of these tunnels is the permanent loss of public space to the requirements of private safety. We walk over history every day, unaware of the hollow spaces just inches beneath our feet. The brick and mortar of our reality is merely a thin veil over a network of forgotten intents. We are the inheritors of a landscape designed for evasion. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, and remember, the shadows have a map. Join us next time as we look at A.E. Champ. In the highest stakes of the Cold War, the agency didn't just take secrets, they took people. We'll uncover the facts behind A.E. Champ, the designation for the support and resettlement of specific high-level defectors from the Soviet Union. This wasn't just a relocation, it was a strategic investment in human intelligence. Join us next time for the defector's debt. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.